So, starting episode 27 of the Pirate Campaign, the lot of you have successfully defeated a frigate worth of slavers after a rather brutal
Oh,
battle.
wait, they were slavers?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They were from the same group that tried to catch some more slaves in Freeport at the beginning, I believe.
Yep.
Oh,
So they were effectively.
somehow I missed that. Sorry.
Oh, good. Not surprising a Mug. Mug just enjoys a good fight. You had tracked them down after they had been trying to sneak their prize back from Freeport after the initial invasion. Engaged the frigate that was escorting two other ships and successfully defeated the crew. Where we last
Oh, wait,
left
we were actually tracking them?
Yep. You had
Okay.
managed to pick up a...
Sorry. This is another revelation.
This is about as big a revelation as when you found out you don't jump into the water when you jump off a flying ship.
Yeah, that happened as well.
Mug is a man of very simple needs. As long as it leads to a fight, he doesn't ask why or how.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the others had picked up a journal and had found the information and where a projected path was going to be for this fleet to come by. Bhajiri, your captain, had been given the letter of marque, and since it is to target the vessels belonging to this particular nation, it's probably easiest if you went and engaged the ones that started the fight in the first place. So you've done that. Whatever is left of the crew have surrendered. The ship is in your hands. Bhajiri has actually pulled a number of the crew back onto the ship and is preparing to secure the other two vessels, which are still, as far as you can tell, grounded. Some of the crew are staying aboard the frigate and are either tying up your new prisoners or taking control of it so that it doesn't drift into any canyon walls and destroy itself. One enterprising sailor is actually already rushing up to collect the flag as evidence that you've actually taken this vessel. So, yes, Silas, as a recap, you did actually murder one of the surrendered slavers, not pirates. In plain sight of everyone. I believe one of your companions objected.
Yeah, but it was only one.
Yeah.
I remembered them.
Yeah, but Mog objected because you're wasting them. They could be made to fight instead.
Yeah, but isn't it easier to just dispose of them?
But who are these people even?
They're the people we were paid to kill.
Oh, well, I guess that's fine then. Should we just kill all of them then?
I'd vote yes. Just not in the most bloody way possible, please.
Well, we can just throw them off board, right?
Shouldn't it be up to the captain to decide?
Oh, the captain.
Yeah, why does the captain get to pick all the fun stuff?
Because he's the captain.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who these people are. I'm just following orders.
Okay, if you want to, we'll call over the captain and see what he thinks about it.
Yes.
And
But
I...
if our contract says to kill them, then we have to kill them, right? I mean, it's not like I can read it.
Captain! Captain! Come here! Come here! Come here, monkey!
As you look around and shout that, you realize that Bhajiri is still on the helm of the Cirrus, and he's shouting orders, and some of the lines that have been thrown out to grapple the frigate are being pulled back in. One of the crew near you shouts over and says, "If you want to get back aboard the Cirrus, they're going for the other ships."
Okay. And with that,
are
I
they
chase
fighting
back
more
to my
people?
position at the cannon.
Silas, are we finding more people?
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
There's more murder in our future.
That's good to know. Let's go find more. I'm sure the others will clean these people up if they need cleaned up.
Yeah.
You do notice that some of the crew have stayed behind on the frigate and are bundling any surviving prisoners down below decks.
Yeah, not my concern. Mug is rushing forward to fight more.
I'll reload my weapons and then rush off to my cannon back topside.
Noted.
Oh, cannons! Cannons! Mug wants to shoot some cannons as well.
Whisp sighs obviously quite dramatically as she joins the rest of you. With you jumping aboard and all the crew back in their places, apart from those remaining on the frigate, the last lines are pulled back in and the Cirrus breaks away and Bhajiri begins to maneuver it to the remaining two vessels. As you lower below the frigate and towards the base of this canyon, you see that these two ships are actually lashed and moored to the ground. And from what you can see as you approach, there is signs that they were perhaps working on them at the time. There is timber, ropes, and a whole bunch of materials, tools laid out and seemingly dropped in haste as you flew over the top. You drift down to the point where you can now see below the balloons on these two ships and onto their decks. And Bhajiri slows the Cirrus.
So are we going to be shooting the cannons now?
The sight on the decks is that these two vessels are extremely lightly armed. They don't have the shape of sleek warships. These appear to be potentially captured traders from Freeport or elsewhere.
Wait, so we're not fighting more?
The decks are covered in, as far as you can tell, slaves and prisoners. There are people sort of standing or kneeling in chains, and clustered behind them, using them as cover, are soldiers.
Oh, these are slavers.
Mug, you are very familiar with what they're doing right now.
Yeah. I guess we are not fighting unless Do you think they arrange pit fights?
Possibly.
Uh-huh.
So, considering that my cannon is now no longer an actual option,
Yep.
or at least not as much of an option.
I don't like that sentence.
Right. You know what?
I'm gonna pull up my.
Down. I'm jumping down on them and I'm fighting the slavers.
We're just Hulk throwing him in the ship.
Right, you.
Well, it worked the last time.
This will be interesting. So currently the Cirrus is a reasonable height above the other two ships, but what I will get you to do is
How far is a reasonable height?
I'd say that your deck, your well, a couple mugs is a good judgment. Your deck level is probably sitting about maybe 6 or 7 meters above theirs.
Okay, in that case,
so
Mug is ready to jump.
Mug, can I get you to do a dexterity if you've got acrobatics or something?
This is what it reminded me of, that I should somewhere have the character sheet.
Glenn, while she's looking for the character sheet,
Yep.
Could I pull out my arquebus?
Yes, you can.
Is there like a captain-looking guy?
If you want to try and spot someone in the crowd, I'll get you to do a perception. Because at the moment, the front ranks of people appear to be all slaves. They're at most bare-chested, wearing rags and chained. And anyone who's armed appears to be sort of crouched behind them. Some of them do have ranged weapons from what you can see.
19 total.
You do see someone that is walking up and down behind those crouching behind. And you can somewhat presume that they are at least an officer.
Okay, his face is going to meet my bullet up close.
Yep.
I'm going to try to shoot him like as he walks back and forth.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably don't have an acrobatics thing, but if it's a dexterity is fine.
Yep, so just roll. Do your roll, add your dexterity.
Okay.
And I will describe, depending on what you roll, how you do.
It's not terrible. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
I'm gonna aim.
Yep.
So that's wrong thing to type in. 5 plus 5 or 5 plus 1 from taking aim plus.
Radio.
2 plus 2 is.
There's a lot of counting in this game.
There is when you're using the weapons he's using. Or cannons.
Sorry.
So, with that, Silas, you... Yeah, that's definitely a hit. Mug, with your roll, you've just stepped onto the railing and leapt. Do you have weapons drawn as you do your dramatic leap across, or?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Yep. So,
can I shoot while I jump, or
actually,
is not
definitely
good enough for that?
Definitely roll an attack.
I think this is going to hit, but no stunt points. I'm always sad by this. So my accuracy. Yeah, it's plus accuracy, isn't it?
Yes, it is plus your accuracy to hit and plus your perception for damage.
Glenn.
Yep.
quick question for the logistics of my attack roll.
That is a hit. Yep.
How far would you say that this captain officer dude is from the edge of their ship?
Probably, depending on which edge you're talking about, the closest edge towards you, they're probably...
No, the edge behind him.
Behind him? I'd say 7 meters, 8 meters.
So 4 loads of skirmish would push him off?
Yep.
I have 5 stun points. I'd like to drop 4 points of skirmish and 1 rapid reload.
Go for it.
Okay. Then my damage is 12 total.
Yep. I will note that.
And he's pushed off the edge.
You see him take the bullet just as he's stepping over something on the deck, which sends him spinning, tripping on a chain, and he staggers backwards trying to right himself as he gets shoved over the other edge of the ship. And he tumbles out of view.
Bye-bye.
Based on the height of the ship off the ground, you presume he's only fallen a few meters, though.
Yeah.
It's enough to take him out of the battle for a while.
Yep.
So yeah, as Mug is jumping, he's like, yeah, get ready to die, slavers. We're taking over your ship. And
so
then, bam.
From the viewpoint of everyone below you, Mug, they have just seen this ship drop into view, crew lining the side of it. And as a shot rings out, the angriest looking dwarf in their lives has leapt up onto the railing and leapt across, firing a pistol as they've tumbled through the air, and then just thumped on top of one of the enemy crewmen, slamming him into the deck.
While shooting?
While shooting him, point blank in the chest.
and the bullet looks shiny.
For the
magical
split
damage.
second that anyone sees it, yes, the bullet is glowing.
Good. Good, they deserve it.
And considering that kind of entrance, and the fact that these guys are already panicking...
I think we're making friends.
We are dramatic motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Also, if other people are not going to be scared after this, they should be.
Of the citrus.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
As Mug shouts
Sorry.
and bellows his challenge, some of the slavers turn to face him, but the slaves also start to act, several of them getting up and throwing chains around necks. And it is not very long before, Mug, you were standing there being literally cheered and lifted over shoulders.
What? I want to fight more. Where's my fight? I just jumped here.
They took her fight! And Mug would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling slaves.
Let's just say
So
that
there are no more slavers to fight.
the slavers have been either beaten to a pulp or have been shoved below decks. Mug, the fact that you leapt over the top and distracted most of the remaining crew long enough, they weren't looking at what they should have been looking at.
The people trying to murder them. Or basically
Yeah,
the
they
other
were-
people trying to murder them.
Yeah, okay. Well, Mug has done a good thing, but Mug has said that the fight ended quickly. It's okay. Let's all drink now.
You hear a voice over the crowd that's Mug you recognize, and it says, "You can get all the free drinks when I get returned to my bar, lad."
When you get returned to your what?
The person who spoke to you, as you see some of the prisoners part, is, although bare-chested, in rags and chained, a very familiar face to you. It might take a little while to place, but he grins and goes, "You haven't forgotten already? Last place I saw you was in my tavern, right before Freeport fell."
Oh, I remember. Yes, and I love free drinks. Let's have all the free drinks. Of course you can go home and give us free drinks.
Well, you'll always get one if you drop by the tavern in Freeport, I can tell you that.
That's great news. Yeah, I'm not even sad anymore that the fight ended. All fights should end in a good drink. Free drink.
Well, free drink is my favorite kind of drink.
Oh yeah, and that's Silas.
Hello.
He grins and goes to wave and realizes his hands are still loosely chained together. And says, "Once again, long time no see, lad. You been behaving?"
I always, right?
He'll wink at you, Mug, and go, "I don't know if it's just me, but I don't believe him."
You shouldn't.
Now that's a wise man.
Yeah, he has killed me 3 times.
Hey, it was only 3 times.
Well, you're
but
you're looking mighty fine for a dead man.
But I wanted to do it. He took my kills.
Now that's a story to hear. How about you spring us from these chains and we can swap tales?
Oh, definitely. Let's break those chains. And Mug is going forward and breaking the chains.
He's gonna try and slam his hammer on them?
Yeah?
So do a strength might.
The poor fuck's not gonna have hands left.
Well, not on their hands, but on the chain.
Yeah, but you do realize the hands are like in the chains, right?
No, not inside the chains. They are in shackles, so I can just break the chains and they can
never mind.
Go at the shackles. Yeah,
Never mind. That
I'm
makes
not
more sense.
hammering their actual shackles. That would be silly. I mean, I know that Mug is not clever, but that would be.
Mug is familiar enough with how these people have dealt with prisoners before to not catastrophically kill people.
So I add my strength and my +2 for might, right?
Yep.
Okay. I can't count. I think this is 19.
Yeah. Mug, effortlessly, you bring your maul down on the chains after crumpling them into a pile. And with a single blow, crack and shatter several of the links, allowing first Amadeus and then one at a time other prisoners to free themselves from their chains.
Yeah, see, this is easy peasy. And then we can all drink together.
After being freed, Amadeus starts sending some of those that have followed down below decks to bring up anything they can find. The first alcohol does go to you, Mug.
Yeah. Mug chugs it down. Glug, 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 glug.
Bhajiri lashes down, or has the crew, I should say, lash down the Cirrus, and the crew disembark from their ship to also mingle with the former prisoners and round up the remaining surviving slavers, all of which get bundled onto the last ship.
Yeah, so guys, it was a funny coincidence that we found all these slaves, right? What a fun story.
Yeah, Mug, that was totally a coincidence.
It was really lucky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we even completed our job that we got paid for.
Yeah, it's totally a coincidence. Well done. Can I quickly fetch the twins?
Yep. So
Oh, the twins.
yep, they're doing various tasks, but you do manage to round them up.
Okay, I'm gonna ask them to specifically get all of the weapons that are still in usable condition, to get all of them and collect them back on the Cirrus in my armory.
They sort of stop, look at each other, and then look back at you and go, "You know what? Should have thought about that ourselves. Leave it to us."
Awesome.
They
Thanks,
go and
guys.
clap two others on the shoulders and sort of send them off.
Yeah, take whoever you need. First drinks on me for whoever helps.
The second you say that, three others near you just rush off because, fuck up whatever the job is, they want booze.
Fair enough.
Everyone drinks. Drinks.
It's so sad for the captain. He can't drink and drive.
It's not the captain who actually controls the
fair.
whale.
Fair. Who does that on our ship?
To be honest, it has been Bhajiri for most of the time that you have been flying.
Okay.
He's been using his tail to steer.
Yeah.
She's no laughing excessively.
You see Amadeus has sent some of the former prisoners off, and they're gathering up the tools and the supplies. And then he comes over and greets all of you and has in his hand a number of mugs frothing with
Yes,
what
mugs.
quite potentially could be alcoholic beverages.
Nice.
He hands them out and says, "I can't vouch for the quality. I can't say what these Shaik drink is the usual fare, but it is, and it definitely smells alcoholic."
Well, let's drink it and find out.
It is the bitterest alcoholic drink that you have tasted, but it is strong and packs a wallop.
I think Mug must have had some really bad stuff before, so...
Mug, this is probably average fare for you. You've had worse, you've had better.
Yeah.
So
I cough about twice.
You have had so much better.
It's good to have a drink after a good day of work.
I do have like the drinking focus, so I guess he downs it.
You can handle its potency, it's just the taste you don't like.
Can I toss in some gunpowder, see if that tastes better?
You know what? I'm going to make you roll for that.
Okay. Now, what do I roll for that?
That will be a Constitution drinking.
+3 plus. I get +2 from the drinking thing, right?
Yep. Yeah, if you've got a specific focus, it adds +2 until you level it up. I'll have to double check when that occurs. Surprisingly, it makes it taste that little bit better.
Good. I'm gonna like drop a little bit of gunpowder in and just down the thing after I taste that it's better.
Amadeus sort of raises an eyebrow and says, I hope you don't smoke, lad. That might leave an interesting taste in your teeth.
How else did you think I became such a good shot?
He doubles over with a massive belly laugh at that. Wiping away a couple of tears, he says, it's been a long time since I've been able to laugh like this. So
it's good to see you, old friend.
Can't say that it's not been a sight for sore eyes to see you swoop in off the horizon.
Never thought I'd hear you say that.
That would make two of us. So tell me, how did you actually track this fleet down?
Oh,
that's a long story.
We tracked down the fleet. This is the first I hear of this.
He just pats you on the shoulder, smug.
We've been doing that ever since we fled from those zombies back in Port Marli.
Oh, since the temple fight?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You guys are clever.
He blinks at the mention of zombies and goes, hadn't heard anything about that any time. Things must have really changed over there.
Well, it was only in one part of the town, but they weren't friendly.
You don't mean those... it was only rumours when... Something about a plague?
Yeah, we did see something about that on the way.
I thought that ended years ago.
Well, it seemed like it had ended, but when we opened the temple, that was a different story.
Sticking your nose where people haven't been in a while. Usually a good way to get yourself in trouble, lad.
Mug had a lot of fun fighting.
If memory serves me right, that bar fight at the tavern right before everything went pear-shaped back in Freeport, I think any scrap this lad's good at.
Yeah, and it's only gotten worse. I mean, Mug's gotten better, but the taste for fighting... Yeah.
We have had some good fights.
Well, can't say that you're not going to get plenty of that if you keep hunting down these Shayak bastards.
Well, we're getting paid for just fun right now, so probably.
Aye.
I'm going to look at Whisp and just go, you were enjoying yourself, admit it.
I'm saying nothing.
Amadeus just gives Wisp the biggest smile and then says, "'Tis all good. Just keep an eye on these two. He's going to clap both Silas and Mug on the shoulders. I get the sneaky suspicion that they're going to require some supervision.
Me?
Super
Never.
what? We're already super.
I'm gonna do a little Gaston flex as Mug mentions us being super.
Mug copies it.
Amadeus starts chuckling again.
His flex is better.
I'm gonna assume yours, considering
If you want to do
I
a,
am decidedly not necessarily string.
do you want to do a flex off?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes,
Right.
I mean, maybe
Roll.
I've had enough drinks to have a flex off.
Roll opposed strike, and we can see who flexed better.
Can I not use might?
Yes, you can.
Could I add smithing?
Unfortunately,
Considering that's
Smithing.
well, that's how he got quite decently strong.
yeah, but that's more the knowledge of like how
Fair.
to not destroy what you're trying to smith.
In
I'd
that
say-
case,
Mug has slightly an unfair advantage because he is already built out of muscles.
Yeah. But I didn't roll very well, so we'll see how it goes.
no way that Silas is winning this.
You know what? I'd pay for a tie.
Oh no! I knew I rolled badly, but oh my god! Mug doesn't know how to flex artistically.
Fair. It's probably that actually makes sense because it wouldn't
Silas?
necessarily be the first time Silas poses for a painting or such.
Silas, all the
my
practice
God.
you've had for posing has paid off.
Yeah. You posing bastard. I think Mug had enough drinks that he's okay.
See, the gunpowder is really doing its thing.
You two are a bunch of goofballs.
Amadeus
I
is
give
still
Wisp a
chuckling.
little wink.
Amadeus still chuckling says, always entertaining ones at least.
True that.
So I take it you'll probably be heading back to Port Marli to claim your bounty on these slavers?
There was one last thing we have to do out here somewhere, but it's quite far, so we might go back first. Not sure. And I look at the crew. Or did you think otherwise?
Can't say much for what your supplies are like, but you may want to stock up. Especially if you plan on taking that with you, and he gestures towards the frigate.
Oh, now we're talking.
Your crew did a number on her, and if you're splitting crew between ships, you're going to need to recruit.
That's a fair point. Yo, Captain.
So Bhajiri perks up and walks over. He's stirring. Somewhere he's pulled out a very ornate teapot and tiny little cup. And he's stirring a tea. You don't know where he got the boiling water from. You don't know where he got the teacup and the pot, but... And he walks up and says, yes, Silas, how can I help?
Well, we were talking about that Bakar trader that we were going to take down at some point. and also about the frigate here. What's the plan with her?
He looks up at the frigate, looks to you, looks back at the frigate, and says, I don't know about you, but I kind of like the idea of building a fleet. What say you lot?
You know what?
Oh, a fleet sounds fun.
Captain,
Yes?
I think you earned an upgrade. Commodore.
He chuckles and goes, I like
A
the sound of
what?
that.
So if we have a fleet, are we getting more cannons?
Well, we just added her and her cannons to our fleet. And I point to the big frigate that we, fought.
Silas, you have a
That looks
flashback of a cannon
nice.
you destroyed.
-1.
What?
I may have destroyed 1 or 2 of the cannons on the way here, but
It's probably still enough.
for now, and if not, we'll just replenish the cannons at some point.
Bhajiri makes a sort of thinking noise and says, maybe that we should do that sooner rather than later. I'm thinking that once we've got everything sorted out here, that we take the ships to get repaired back at Port Marli, and we can do something about upgrading that little frigate there.
Sounds good.
Well, if it's all fine to you, I think I'm going to enjoy a nice celebratory tea.
Where? How? What?
He just smirks and leaves you saying that.
What's a tea?
I think it's in that cup of his.
Well, a tea is a tea a good drink? Is it better than beer?
Less alcohol last I had it.
Well, it has less alcohol than that's a shit drink.
Yeah, why would you drink it if there's mead?
Yeah, I mean, anything worse than beer. I mean, beer is pretty weak. If something has less alcohol than beer, why would you drink it?
I think it's something the kids drink.
Oh, right. Is the captain still a child? I can't tell because he's also a monkey.
Edric, right at the point you say it's something that kids drink, Alara walks behind you,
Yeah.
leans over your shoulder and says, "Are you calling me a child?" And then walks off.
The implications of that make it that you're...
You just said it's a kid's drink.
Well, I only drank it as a kid, but apparently adults can drink it too, because Alara is drinking it, and I don't like the idea of her seeing her as a child.
I don't know, she's pretty small as well. I mean, pretty thin. She could be a child. You don't know. I mean, I don't know how you guys grow.
I'm pretty certain she's not a child.
She doesn't
Right,
look at
but
you,
what-
Silas. She just goes, "Very smart man."
Now it's Silas's turn for one of those big belly laughs.
You don't know where she's whipped it up from, but she has also now summoned up a small little
Oh my
cup,
gosh.
and she is now drinking tea with Bhajiri.
How?
Well, let me drink more beer. I don't care about tea if it doesn't have good drink in it.
In the meantime, I'll just try and find one of the twins again and just ask them how it's looking. And on the way there, I'm collecting bottles of booze for quite a few people.
You easily find the twins, and they are loading on a mixture of swords and axes and a couple of rifles that they've found amongst the remains of the battle, and they are sort of sorting them before they get split up and put onto the ship. Jareth looks up at you.
I just found this picture. Relevant, sorry.
Highly appropriate, to be honest.
Yep.
And for the audience, it is a soldier having a tea party with a child. So,
a baby.
Jareth looks at you, Silas, and says, "It's gone well. We've gathered all this up, and I think there's still some more to get from the frigates. Obviously, since it's still up there," and he gestures up above. We'll have to wait until we can start transferring that.
Fair enough. We'll have to get her down eventually.
They don't so much mention what they found, but they do gesture that they've broken it out into piles, so you can glance over stuff.
I'd like to look through it to see if they have a blunderbuss, scattergun kind of weapon.
Fair enough. Most of what you find is close quarters weaponry. Seems like the people of the Shayak don't tend to use gunpowder as often. And whatever gunpowder they use tends to be with the cannons. So you don't see a blunderbuss or anything. It's largely just what looks to be stolen rifles.
Oh, okay. In that case, I'll just collect the best looking rifles and pistols and such, and just get them ready to go to the armory.
Yep.
And then I'm going to yell out to everybody on our crew.
Yep.
Anyone want a sword?
Want what?
A sword. Sharp,
Ooh,
pokey, stabby.
Got one already, thanks.
I've not really used them before. Can you smash people with them?
You can certainly try.
Okay,
but
let me have a try at it.
I'm gonna slide one of the swords to Mug.
Yep.
And just roll a barrel towards Mug as well.
Okay, let me see if this has any good swing. What kind of sword is it?
So you've got a standard longsword. So let me quickly look that up. So off the top of my head, it's 2d6 damage, but I need to double check the.
I was just looking at the.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Thing. I was just looking at the weapon thing.
Yep.
Ooh, welcome back. Longsword is 2d6, and it's fighting.
Yep. So fighting, and then that's what I was looking for. Unfortunately,
okay. So it's a long sword. Is that a two-hander?
Either or. It can be a one-handed or two-handed weapon.
Yeah. It's a heavy blade.
Yep.
Because then I have that weapon group. Because I have axes, bludgeoning, and heavy blades. Okay, so I can actually use it.
Yep.
Okay. Then let's just give it a good swing.
I really need to see this roll.
You know how I always complain that I don't get stunned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
You add your fighting to it, right?
Yep, you add your fighting to it. I am.
Can I use pierce armor or like double? Or what can I do for 6 stunts?
Well, to be honest, you're rolling against the barrel, so you can pretty much mighty blow this thing.
Okay, mighty blow. So does that mean that I do double damage, or I roll double the dice?
No,
yeah,
you roll plus 2d6.
you add plus 2d6 to your
Oh yeah,
attack.
in this case that's double, but
Yep.
Yeah. So I add 2d6 to it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And yeah, it's 2d6 the longsword, or
Yep. So all up,
Oh, what is the
4d6 worth of
damage on it?
damage.
sorry.
It'll be
What is the damage on it? So it's
you'll be rolling 4d6 damage plus your strength.
okay. It's just plus strength.
Yep. Oh, hang on. Let me just quickly double check that.
Okay.
Swords damage. That's bows. I want long swords. Yeah, it's just straight 2d6 plus.
Okay.
Your strength.
That's fair enough.
Which, to be honest, considering it's mug, that's probably going to be one very, very shattered barrel.
I don't even know what I'm doing to this barrel. This is going to be like nasty. So that's 20. I think that's 22.
Oh, bleeding heck.
Yeah,
so-
that's 22 points of damage.
Mug, as this barrel rolls towards you, you do a massive overhand swing and literally carve right through the center of it and bury the tip of the sword into the sand. The barrel explodes into 2 halves.
What was in the barrel? Was it an actually empty barrel?
Well, considering Silas rolled it to you, I'd say it was definitely not a completely full one. But spilling out onto the sand is water.
Okay. This is a pretty good sword. But I think I could have done better with my mole. Says Mug as he is looking at the splinters. I feel like I was just cutting this up, but I could actually mince it with my mole.
quite possibly.
There's nothing special about the sword. It's just
It's just a straight longsword.
Yep.
Just a free sword we found.
I think I'm happy staying with my mole. But it's decent enough. Anyone else wants a sword?
Some of the crew
You
do
can
come...
cut a you can cut a barrel with it.
Some of the crew do step forward and swap in weapons like small hand axes and so on for long swords, and a couple of sort of peruse the other weapons as can we grab these too?
Which other weapons were there?
Off the larger soldiers that you had fought, there are a couple of battle axes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you notice that both the twins have actually commandeered 2 already.
That makes sense.
It's a battle axe better.
In your thorough opinion of using weapons, it's probably not quite as good as your mole.
Oh, that no, Mugger's not that interested. He already has murder weapon. Are there any pistols that are better than his pistol?
The quality of the firearms is either not spectacular or effectively the same as what you've already got.
I gave Mug one of the better pistols that we had on our ship.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The only pistol that might be better is mine, but that's because I've spent time upgrading it.
Fair enough.
And that one isn't... Oh wait, that's not even the pistol that's upgraded. Yet.
The crew gather up some of the weapons and some return back to drinking and partying. Others are busying themselves about tasks of loading things onto either the Cirrus or helping guide some of the former prisoners in repairing these two trade ships to some form of being able to fly again. So over the next few hours, they will work on getting that done. In the meantime, you'll have a little bit of downtime yourselves after the battle to either go over your loot or do any other small tasks.
Can I talk to Alara for a second?
Yep.
Yep.
You find her sort of sitting off to a side, just watching all the busyness going around.
I want to go up there and I want to say, so you've kind of become the healer in our group, but you kind of rely a lot on your magic. So I want to give you something that could maybe help should that ever not be the case. And I want to give her 2 of my healing potions. And then I want to say, because Edric can't tell the difference between healing potions and grenades, so I thought maybe if you got some from someone who knows the difference, it might help a lot.
She smiles, and then when you mention Edric, laughs and says, "There are some subjects in which he probably should have stayed awake when his tutors were talking. That said,
Yeah.
I do appreciate this."
Yeah. You're a big help, and I want to make sure that you're okay.
She smiles and says, "It's very much appreciated. I do my best to try and help you in these times. It's, after all, the least I can do after you freed me."
You're appreciated. I hope you know that.
Aww.
She smiles and stands up and gives you a formal curtsy, despite the fact she's not actually wearing a dress.
Oh.
But Whisp is so much nicer than the rest of the party, and then like murders people.
She gives you a very broad smile and says, "You do remind me that I should actually teach Silas to reflect manners such as your own."
He could benefit from a few elocution lessons.
It might surprise you, but he's had those since he was a child. I pity his tutor.
Oh. Maybe there's hope, I don't know.
She smiles and just goes, "We can only but try."
In the background, you see Silas chugging another bottle.
She just looks in Silas's direction and goes, "Let's just call it a work in progress."
A long work in progress.
She opens the pouch on her hip and she puts the small vials of healing potions away.
Cool.
I think Mug wants to ask, someone, whoever is around, about. So what are we doing next? Are we going somewhere now? Do we have more work to do?
The that's beautiful. The former prisoners sort of shrug and continue about their business. However, one of the sailors near you, the youngster that you picked up in Freeport, is leaning on a rail, and he mentions Captain said something earlier about heading back to Port Marli, escorting these two ships back.
Oh yeah, yeah. They didn't want to go back, and then we are going to party there, right?
I'd say that we've probably earned it. Although, last I remember, I think there's at least one tavern we won't be drinking in.
Oh, you mean the one we blew up?
That might be the one. Unless they've rebuilt it by the time we get back there.
That would have been a quick rebuild. It was gone entirely.
I'm sure we won't blow it up again. I don't know why we blew it up in the first place.
It was because he threw a hand grenade at us.
Oh yeah, it was the owner's fault.
If he hadn't thrown a grenade, we wouldn't have had to blow it up.
Yeah, but we were just there to party.
I wonder how that guy with the broken leg fared.
Hey, we only tried to put him in the captain's bed twice.
Oh gosh.
I mean, that was for his own safety.
Definitely, that was the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that argument. We're keeping that.
The youngster is like basically just looking between you all like someone at a tennis match. And his jaw is just slowly like falling open in shock. And then he finally musters up enough wit to go, how is it the captain's not getting you to swap the decks every day?
It's because we're important.
I get bored of it. I organize the fights.
I decided the cannon cleaning was easier. And more fun.
We definitely only train on the ship. We have been told this many times. But if we find a temple, then we can fight. Or if we find other ships.
Yeah, but it's not training if we find other ships or the temple. At that point, it's not...
that's a proper fight.
Yeah, at that point, it's not training. It's actually using the skills.
Yeah. But, if you are bored and if you want to get strong, then you're welcome to come and train. I will beat you up good.
He looks at you, Mug, and goes, I think I'll pass. The twins are hard enough as it is.
Oh, yeah. They're good training partners, the twins.
Evil, you mean?
What? The twins are fun to fight. Because you can fight two of them at the same time.
You see him shake his head and goes, would never ever want to do that.
If you only have one opponent, that's boring.
I think I'm happy enough with one at a time.
You sure?
He nods and goes, at least for now.
Okay. In the meantime, Mug will take on the fighting then.
Well, more for me, the better.
He just looks at you, Mug, and goes, you're a one-man army in your own right.
That only happened when I went into the copy thing.
He just mouth open, shut, open, just the what?
When there was 4 of me, that was like an army.
He just
It
looks
was
at
a
you.
free-for-all fight.
He looks at you, Silas, and goes, how much has Mug been drinking?
Too much. Too much. You should probably try and take his booze from him.
He looks to you, Mug, and your booze, looks to you, Silas, and goes, I choose life.
Fair enough.
And then he walks past you and heads on back to the ship.
As he heads off, I'd like to shout after him. It did happen, you know, with the copying.
You hear a shout back, you lay off the booze too.
Hey, he actually tries it with me. That's not fair.
So a few hours pass and the ships are readied to be launched again. And the captain splits the crew of the Cirrus between the captured frigate and the Cirrus itself. The 2 trade ships are slowly lifted, and you see that Amadeus has taken the helm of one and is calling and shouting orders to former prisoners who are crewing it for him. And the other ship has someone at the helm as well, and it is slowly rising.
Okay.
Bhajiri sends you 3 onto the frigate. And Alara joins you as well, as she says, smirking to you, Silas, I don't count as crew. The other half remain on the Cirrus, and he says to the 3 of you, I'm leaving you 3 in charge of the frigate. Get it back to Port Marli and deliver this. I'll be returning with our other prize.
Our other prize?
He's referring to the other ship.
Ah, yes.
That was laid up for repairs.
Okay, can I get some time on the Cirrus real quick to collect my stuff?
Not a problem. We'll tie these 2 up side by side and make sure that we've got enough supplies to get us both back to Port Marli.
Sounds like a good plan.
The crew works incredibly fast to shift across supplies, make sure there's enough water between the 2 ships, and also to, since the frigate is to go back to Port Marli first, and will probably beat the Cirrus, unless the winds favour the smaller ship. Bhajiri hands across to you, Wisp, a number of flags. Each of them is from one of the captured ships.
Okay.
How much do they pay per flag?
He grins and says, well, let's just say that they indicated that we might get 1,000 gold pieces per captured flag and proof of defeat. And let's just say that if we sell at least the other sloop, we should get a decent prize per giving them a ship of war.
Sounds good. I was thinking that maybe it was worth it to keep one flag so that we can hang it, so that we can use it to surprise Shayak. But for that price, it might not be worth it.
He thinks about it for a bit and then says, we can think about it and discuss it when I get there.
We could always ask if we could re-borrow one that we sell them.
True, they may let us keep them. It's just proof that we've actually defeated them in battle.
So, how much is like 1,000 gold? Is it like a small pile of money, a medium pile of money, or a big pile of money?
It's like 3 big piles.
3 big piles, and each of the flags is 3 big piles. So that's like many big piles of money.
Yeah, we're aiming to get many big piles of money.
That's good. I approve of this.
Bhajiri grins and goes, I'm glad you do, because we're going to have to start paying bills on these ships soon.
What's a bill?
Bill is that man over there, and I point at one of the crew members.
Hey, Bill, you're getting paid.
The random crew member cheers and has absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Bhajiri looks at you, Mug, looks at up to you, Edric, and then slowly puts a hand in his face. And then says, it's gonna cost us some money to repair this frigate.
I know, I just was trying to mess up Mug's plans.
In your own time. And then he looks at you, Wisp, and goes, make sure that they go the right way. I'll see you all in Port Marli.
Do you have no faith in us, Captain?
He looks you dead in the eyes and says, I think I have the exact right amount of faith in you.
I'll take that as a yes.
And with that, he jumps across back onto the Cirrus and then shouts as he gets up to the wheelhouse. Safe travels, and I'll see you in Port Marli.
See you there.
See you there, Cap.
With that, the...
Yeah, it doesn't have to happen right now, but I was going to say that Monk probably wants to like make friends with some of the slaves and hear their trade stories and things.
So some of them have bundled on with the lot of you onto the frigate because you need the extra hands anyway. So you will have a chance to meet and speak to some of the former prisoners. The 2 trade ships, one now led by Captain Amadeus, rise up out of the canyon, and you all work to get this frigate turned around and following along. It is quite damaged from your fight, but it's still quite functional. once the hard work is done and people are getting used to the various tasks that need doing, you do find that you still have a little bit of free time to talk and chat amongst yourselves and pass the time with anything from card games and dice to drinking and sleep. So you head off on your voyage back to Port Marli. It's very easy for your new vessel, I should say, to keep pace with the two trade ships. Mug, I think I'm actually getting feedback off yours. I'm hearing myself in double.
Yeah, it's sorry, my headphones just ran out of battery. So
Okay.
It's probably me.
It's all good.
Is it any better now?
We'll see.
I could try muting. I will try muting myself and just unmuting when I speak.
Okay. Thank you. I'll just turn you back up. The two trade ships are not the fastest things in the world, and your frigate, although damaged, is able to keep pace, and you chart a course following them. Both the twins have come aboard with you, and about 20 of the crew are also with you. So Silas, in the meantime, you've been collecting stuff for weapons, tools, and weapon smithing, and you also want to tune your handmade tin whistle. After sorting out the cannons and sort of accounting for the damage that has been done to the ship, you find yourself with some time and you can actually, yes, work on your tin whistle and so on.
Awesome.
The twins have taken the helm and are steering.
As long as they can agree on a course, I'm fine with it.
They seem to be managing okay. At the very least, the sun is setting on the right side of the ship. So you're heading in the right direction.
That's a good sign.
Alara has taken herself below decks and hasn't come back up above yet. Mug and Whisp, is there anything you particularly get yourself up to?
Not really, no.
Mug, you did mention that you wanted to speak to some of the prisoners. In spare time, some of them do talk to you. Most of them are extremely thankful for your intervention, especially those that actually witnessed you boarding the ship and scaring the absolute bejesus out of half the surviving soldiers that had been left on the ground. Is there anything in particular that you want to ask them or talk to them about? Mug?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
It's so good.
I was also distracted by the cat, so it should be excused, because the cat just came into the room, and yeah, I was distracted by her. But yeah,
yeah. So Mug wants to. Well, I guess. But Mug is kind of wondering if the slavers were the same as the ones that took him as well. I guess he's finally starting to get curious about where was he taken from and stuff like that. If there are any other people who were taken from the same place as him.
So speaking to this group of prisoners, you find that the majority of them were from Freeport. Some of them were soldiers who had fought the slavers and been captured. Others were just local civilians that had been caught up and hadn't managed to escape. There are a small number that have been prisoners longer. One or two of them former sailors that were on ships that stumbled across the Shayak fleet and were boarded and captured then. They aren't, in general, many that were held captive prior to that. Of those, it appears that they were perhaps either brought aboard in ports of call that the fleet were taking up, or in the case of one, it was a personal slave of one of the officers, and they were
Oh wow, that's quite interesting.
They're the longest standing prisoner in this group.
Yeah, I want to talk to them.
This person is a sort of late middle-aged man, quite thin. His beard and moustache are extremely well groomed, and it looks at the very least that he's less worn out than quite a lot of the others. Not a person who has done lots of hard labor. Speaking to him, he is quiet, but the others seem to defer to him out of his knowledge. And you notice that quite a few of them do come up and ask various questions, and he always seems to have an answer for them. When you speak to him, he does tell you a bit about his story, about how he's been a slave of the Shayak for quite some time. In that he was, to his best count, captured by the slavers somewhere in the realm of 10 years ago. Since then, he's done many things for them, but he had the luck of being taken as a personal slave for one of the officers who realized that he was exceptionally good at navigation. The officer used him to plot courses for the ship, and until very recently, he had been given somewhat more freedom than many of the others. He mentions that he lost favor when it was discovered that the course back that he had plotted originally for this fleet had left it at great risk of being intercepted by friendly vessels from Port Marli. And he had been thrown in with
so
the other
he
prisoners.
did it on purpose. He did it on purpose.
He had tried to put the prize fleet in a position to be attacked. He says that he doesn't remember or know what happened to his former master, as the ship that he was on had sailed after the escapees. But he does mention he feared for a minute when the Cirrus approached that his master had returned.
Ooh, that was pretty interesting that he was orchestrating the whole thing. That's not what Muggy's saying. But I guess
Yep.
he can't help Mug find out. Well,
when Mug asks,
if
he says that he doesn't specifically know where Mug is from, but he has seen others occasionally like him amongst the slaves of the Shyok. That it's not unknown for the slavers to have fought, especially with the Dwarven tribes and clans. I
guess one question is Mug probably doesn't know if he was taken by Shyok slavers or not, and that's probably a question that can be answered by this slave.
What he says to that is, out of all the nations to the south, there's only two that still really practice slavery. One is the Shyok. Their entire economy effectively banks on it. Although they are a tyrannical people that treat even their own lower classes not much better than slaves, they are by far one of the worst slaving groups. The other is a nation that is despised by nearly all, but few are willing to fight it in an outright war. He's only heard rumors, as he puts it, slaves that go there never return. And he says the only bits that I know of that particular place are even rumors amongst the elite of the Shyok. But as a nation, as far as I know, ruled by the undead. And there's only one purpose for slaves in that kind of place.
What is it?
To make more undead.
Then I was probably enslaved by the Shyok, because I'm not undead yet, and they didn't make any undead.
Then you're one of the lucky ones, I feel. As poor luck as that is. But if there's any records of where you're from, there may be some in the Shyok. From what I know and from what I've heard, there are records that they do keep there, but it would be extremely difficult in these kind of times to get anywhere near those.
Yeah, but we have a load of Shyok captured now. I could ask them to do it, to get me the records that they have.
He laughs when you mention that and goes, if you could even convince one of them to go anywhere near back their homeland, that would be a sight. The fact
I mean,
that
I'm not going to just ask them, you know.
the fact that they've been defeated in battle means that they would likely face being enslaved themselves. They don't really look well down on Veilers.
Oh no, but they will have a choice between doing what I tell them to do, or me throwing them overboard. You know.
That would be a convincing method, I guess.
Thank you very much for the help. I mean, that clears things up for me, I think.
I'm glad I could have been of some help. The only thing I could suggest is perhaps if you do manage to find those records, look for any cases where they have encountered dwarves. Especially from what I've seen and heard of you. Dwarves that they want to keep records of for fighting. The arenas of the Shire are obviously well known, but they are a hungry beast that always needs feeding, so if anything they would like to keep records of, it's more slaves for the arena. There is a chance that they might have kept a record of your people there.
Oh, I was fighting in the arenas, in the pits.
Then I would say that would perhaps be your first protocol. If you were ever lucky enough to sneak in.
Right, thank you. So it's pretty simple. All I have to do is go to the Shayak's country and then sneak into their records. I can do that.
You can?
Well, Mug thinks he can.
The old slave nods and says, I wish you all the luck. And with that, I should probably get some rest. It's been a very, very long time since these tired bones have been able to sleep in peace. And he makes his way below decks. The trip back to Port Marli is long but relatively uneventful. You do come across the occasional sandstorm and have to weather it and obviously clear the sand off the decks and out of the cannons once you make your way out the other side, but all the ships manage to get through without too much dramatics. And before you know it, Port Marli is on the horizon. You notice the second it is because the people on the other two ships start cheering wildly. And you can hear them from where you are.
Hello. I'm gonna get in like a prominent position on one of the nettings on the side.
Yep.
And just wave as we reach.
You sail on up the ridges and rocky mountainous exterior of the outskirts of Port Marli, and then down into the caldera. The prisoners on the other two ships cheering and jubilant. Some of them wave across back at you, Edric. And the 3 ships make their way down into the water and glide across to the docks.
See, this is why I remembered water.
That's fair enough, I guess.
The twins guide the ship up to the docks, and ropes are cast off and it's tied up. And then one of them comes down to you and looks at the 3 of you, and then looks at you, Silas, and goes, "Well, I believe you're the ranking officer here, so what's the plan?"
Well,
Ranking officer.
Oh
What's
boy.
that? What do you rank?
You shouldn't put notions into his head, you know.
Silas just like rolls his shoulders a bit, stands up a bit straighter. I guess the plan is now we drink. I'll make sure to talk to the captain about getting this ship fixed and prepared for whatever we take her on next.
The twin, and you're not quite sure whether it's Jareth or Gareth, grins and says, "I'll let the crew know that it's time to hit the taverns and the pubs.
It's party time!
If
Can
you
I-
Are
wanna,
you guys coming to party?
Can I, like, out of character, can I mention the name of the tavern that we blew up and just suggest that they don't go there?
you can do.
I don't remember the name of the tavern, that's why I do it out of character for a second.
That is all right. The twins do know which one you're talking about because they were also present.
Ah, yeah. So, we shouldn't go to the tavern of last time, I guess.
He grins and goes, "That's presuming they've built it already."
And otherwise, we'll just find another tavern.
Well, guys, you want to go and party? Twins, you're coming as well. Let's have a good party.
Ooh, I know where we can party.
The same place as last time?
That hand dude.
What?
Huh?
The dude from the hand?
The twin
I
next
don't
to you
know,
sort of
what's
cocks
that?
her head and goes, "You don't mean with the criminal guild that lurks off in the old city, right?"
They promised free drinks for us whenever we were there.
I remember. Yeah, let's go there.
Whatever
they
you
the
did to
ones
get into
paying
their
us?
good books, you gotta let me know.
We just had a fun night out, I guess.
I think I'm gonna like it on this ship. He just saunters on off to tell his brother.
Yeah, they're paying us for work, aren't they?
Well, it's they have that contract wall, but the contracts that we've used there were not actual usable. Because you got a contract there
Why
to murder
not?
me.
Oh,
You got a contract
they're
there
not
to murder
paying
me. And seeing as I'm still alive, you're not getting paid. And also the contract was ripped up because they didn't want to murder me after we befriended them.
oh, right.
That's why we
true.
decapitated the ambassador.
Right, I remember that.
The docks are an absolute flurry of people and ships, and you notice that there's even more ships here than there was last time. Quite a few of them appear to be ships of war, and looking out across the bay, you do actually see a massive battleship.
Ooh.
That looks nice. It must have a lot of cannons in them.
We should take that one as well.
I'd like to see you try.
Challenge accepted. Wait, was that the soldier ship that Mug and... Who was Mug with that soldier ship in the beginning? Was that Tarin?
That was Tarin and Mug. And no, that was a frigate that they were harassing.
Yeah, we're looking for our targets. Or...
Yeah, when you were looking for me.
Yes.
So, a official walks up and clears his throat and shouts up to the ship. Is the captain aboard?
I guess that's me.
You. Yep. Apparently.
I give a little bow to Whisp and I go, it appears I've been called for. Ta-ta.
Remember eloquence.
Yes, of course. I'm nothing but.
Aye, right.
And then I
saunters up to you, Whisp, and then softly says, shall we bet on how long it takes him to screw this up?
2 minutes?
She smirks and says, I'll give it 1.
You're on.
I'm going to wander over to the official.
He's looking down at a clipboard in his hands and using an ink pot and a quill to scribble notes. And he says, welcome to Port Marli, Captain. Need to have your dock fees and purpose of your visit.
How much were the dock fees?
It's simple 25 gold per day.
Is it more than a big pile of money, or less than a big pile of money?
Here you go. And I give him, at first, 50 gold.
He nods and takes a note and goes, we'll have you for 2 days. You can, of course, extend your time at the main dockhouse. And he gestures up along the large quay that you're on and points to a building that Tarin and Mug will remember.
I'm gonna look at him and I'm gonna say that for just how long we'll stay precisely, but for now 2 days is enough. Purpose of our stay will be a resupply and some repairs, as you can see.
He takes a note of that and sort of looks at the frigate and goes, yeah, a little bit more than the standard wear and tear, isn't it?
Yeah, this we were on a mission as... Wait, was it the council or something that gave us the mission?
Yeah, Bhajiri did tell you that it was the council of Port Marli that had given the letter of marque.
We found her on one of the marks that we were appointed for by the council.
His eyes widen a little bit at the mention of marks and goes, privateers. I presume that the council sent you out there, so he looks at the battle damage. I presume some success against the Shayak, then.
Yeah, we totally got them.
Most of the ships here were Shayak before.
He looks at the vessel, looks to you and goes, well. You are doing quite well. He makes a little note on his pad and says, well, news of that getting around will definitely lift spirits in town, I can tell you that.
I'm gonna make a tiny bow and just go, I'm very glad we could help with that.
Keep up the good efforts, and make certain that the council know of any bounties that you intend to collect. They've
Yes, of course.
they've set up an office for that up near the council chambers.
Ah,
Anyone up
perfect.
there will be able to tell you the way.
Perfect. I'm gonna pull out 5 more gold.
Yep.
And I'm gonna hand it to him. Could you keep an eye out for any cannons or anything that might help us on our hunt?
He pockets it immediately and says, cannons are still in short supply as we're obviously arming up everything that we possibly can, but I'll keep an eye out, let you know anything. As for your repairs, I'll have one of the shipwrights sent over.
Sounds good. I think it's good to talk to the captain of the Cirrus, because they are the commodore of this fleet. They'll handle the payments for the rest, and they'll give the orders for the repairs.
He nods and sort of flicks through his papers and goes, Cirrus. Cirrus hasn't actually arrived as yet, so I presume hopefully there will not be too much longer, but I'll keep a note of that and keep it in mind. At the least, if they're not back here in 2 days, we will let you know.
Sounds good. And at that point, of course, come to me for talk about further payments.
Of course, of
They're
course.
pretty slow compared to us, I guess.
With that, I take it that's everything handled then?
For now it is, indeed. I've got a couple more ships to visit, so thank you, and if we do come across news of any cannons that are for sale, we will send a runner.
Perfect. Good luck, and we'll see you around.
Of course. And good hunting when you do head back out. With that,
Thank you.
he gives a short bow and then quickly scuttles off to the next ship that's already pulling into the quay.
Awesome. I'm going to turn around at Whisp and Mug, stick out my tongue, and then just say, see? I know what I do.
Alara wordlessly pulls out a gold coin and slips it to you, Wisp.
Mental note, I have to talk to the captain about the 55 gold fee that I paid here.
When he gets here, of course.
Yeah, that's
if
if
he
he's
gets
here. That's if the citizen survives, of course.
Oh boy. Is Sen on that ship?
Yes, so Tarin, Merrisea, and Sen are still on the other ship.
Where's Bingo?
Bingo, you haven't seen in a little bit.
Oh no!
You're not entirely certain which of the ships that Bingo's managed to make himself a home on, but you're fairly certain if you hunted for a stockpile, wherever that is Bingo.
Oh dear.
I can honestly not imagine that Bingo would have moved ships, because Bingo would have to pull all of those socks again.
So it's just the 3 of us now.
And Alara.
Oh, alright, it's just the 4 of us now.
But that does mean for a while you can't threaten Sen on it.
Well, we have the twins at least.
Well, you can threaten them all you like. I couldn't care less about them.
To be fair, if Bingo is on that ship and the kid is as well, isn't the kid technically in bigger risk?
Oh god. Oh no. This ship better show up.
The ship's gonna show up, alright. do keep an eye out beneath the ship for the flag that they sail there. It's kid-shaped.
Oh well, how about we go and party? Now, so good work done.
Captain had given us the flags, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that case,
Thank-
I'll take those.
No, the captain's not here yet, and he said to meet him first before we decide what to do.
We can go and hand these into the council before. That way we can pay for
Right.
the actual repairs.
Yes,
Are we
so
go-
let's hand them in and then spend all the money on booze.
No, we're not spending the money on booze.
Are
Some of the money on booze.
The money is needed to actually pay for the ship.
But if there's a very, very big pile of money, and it sounds like there'll be lots of big piles of money, some pile of money can be spent on booze, right?
You know what? We'll see if we can spend some on booze.
Good.
are we gonna try and keep one of the flags, or negotiate that, or?
I think it's best to hand them in and ask if we could keep keep two, actually, one for each ship,
Mm-hmm.
to make it easier to hunt for the remainder.
Okay, dokes.
And I'm gonna whisper to Wisp. I am gonna take 55 gold from the coffers after we've got payment to supply myself for the money that I've spent on the docking fees.
I'm gonna whisper back, you better give a gold to Alara.
Yes, of course. She's made sure that we actually survived. She's earned her part. In fact, I think Captain said we all earned our part, right? We won't make it massive parts, but I think it's good to think about that at least.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously we should spend some on repairs for the ship because we
How
ain't
about we
leaving her like this.
discuss that once we have the money?
Sounds good. So, shall we
Lead on.
And with that, I'm gonna move towards the council, that building by the council where we are going to hand in the bounties.
Yep.
Are we going to have to?
Oh, I'll let Wisp finish.
Are we gonna have to officially refer to you as captain in the presence of other folk now?
Honestly, I think that there might be titles of rank for grab for you guys as well, so that you don't have to call me captain. It's just that people like the twins will have to call me captain.
Okay, dokes.
Oh, so are we going to be officials as well?
I think that would be a good idea.
Oh, who am I going to be?
We'll find a suitable title for you, but I was thinking something of Battlemaster.
Oh wow, I'm going to be a master. I'm going to be battle. I'm going to be the best battle that ever was. Yeah, I will make all the best battles.
You can definitely prepare the crew for boarding actions and such by training them in fights.
Yes, definitely. I will prepare everyone for the best battles.
Sounds good.
You see James Hawkins walking across the deck nearby and he hears you and shudders.
Hi, James.
He just gives you a smile and a wave and goes, I hope you're certain about that, and then he just walks off.
We'll find suitable titles and jobs for you.
copy this again, just so you don't have to go diving for it.
Oh yes, the map.
Yep, it is pinned, but there you go.
Awesome. I'd like to head towards the council.
Yep. So the Cirrus is obviously currently not there, and you are docked actually quite a lot closer to where the Shattered Hand is. So walking effectively from the northern part of the quay right around the eastern ring past the markets takes you down towards where the tower is that is referred to as the Tower of the Elders. It's a old keep that rises out over the city that is effectively made out of towers built on further towers. As you head there, just stopping every now and again, you easily get pointed in the right direction by some of the locals. And as you approach the main boulevard that walks from the quay up towards this place, you notice that there is quite a number of captains and crew sort of coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
The boulevard itself is a wide one. On both sides there are ornate buildings. These look like to be the wealthy homes of the local elite. And at the very end of it is at the tower itself. There are plenty of soldiers and guards around. And you can see atop the various towers that there are patrols.
Ah.
Alara just sort of gently taps you on the shoulder, Silas, and goes, "Best behavior, Silas."
Well, of course, I always do. And to show her that I mean it, I'm going to pull the pistols that I have in the belt across my chest.
Yep.
I'm going to pull those out. I'm going to put those in like the belts that I have on my hips so that they're underneath my coat and I can't pull them as easily.
You notice one of the soldiers sort of glances as soon as you touch your weapons, but as soon as you put them into your belts, the gaze sort of slips off you and starts looking elsewhere.
I give a little smile, and then I'm gonna walk towards the thing.
You make your way along the boulevard up towards the tower, and you see that there are soldiers guarding the main entryway, and that there appears to be an officer checking people as they enter.
Mm-hmm.
A reasonable queue is in front of you. From what you can tell, the other people in the queue are also either captains or officials.
So it's all captains and officials.
Yep.
Okay. I'll just stand in line, I guess.
A few minutes pass and the queue grows longer behind you, and the official eventually makes his way down to you and simply looks you over and says, "Purpose of your visit?"
I'm here to hand over some marks from our letters of mark.
He raises an eyebrow and says, "One of the privateers, huh?"
Yeah.
Well, let me expedite that slightly. You are unfortunately in the wrong queue, but he calls one of his soldiers over and says, "Run these over to collect the bounties. The admin officers moved. We're getting too long a queue here." And then he turns to you and goes, "Apologies. We do still occasionally get people here. It is, was formerly the correct place to be handing in any letters, bounties for letters of marque. But we've commissioned so many privateers, it's become quite the chore." The soldier rushes over, salutes, takes his orders, and then beckons the lot of you and goes, "Please follow me."
Thank you for your time. And then I'm going to turn to follow the soldier.
The officer nods.
So did we hand in the flags?
Nope. We were in the wrong queue.
The soldier...
How did you get in the wrong queue?
So we're just all falling behind Edric then.
Apparently. so I stood in line and you just joined.
So you're not very competent then. Edric.
Doing great, Captain. Doing great.
Nah, I don't want to follow this captain. I want to follow the captain who knows what they are doing.
I'm afraid we don't have any of those.
Damn it. How about we make Whisp captain or Alara? They know what they are doing.
Alara just smiles at you, Mug, and goes, "Thank you for your vote of confidence."
All I'm saying is that we waited all that time for nothing. And there's probably
No,
going to be
not
a
for
longer
nothing.
queue now.
Not for nothing. Now we'll find the queue guaranteed.
It's going to be an even longer queue.
No, because it's been expedited.
The soldier jogs you down a side street, not far from where the main entry to the towers is, and up along another one that actually heads towards the towers again, but from a different angle, and stops out near what look to be smaller, more administration-style buildings and barracks. And he points towards sort of nondescript one with two open wooden doors. You see a captain walk in. Above it has a hastily created sign, and it has painted on it in, I'd say, a harried and rushed attempt to make a new office building a poor attempt at administration office. Some of the letters have been obviously crossed out and rewritten as whoever was writing it
Was not sober.
Probably should have spell checked it in their rush. Through the open doors, you do see that there are desks and that there are uniformed soldiers sort of rushing paperwork around, and some of them are sitting and speaking to various captains that are sat on stools opposite them, and there is items that are on the desks as well. The soldier says, "Just head on through and one of the orderlies will see to you."
Okay. Wisp, do you still have flags?
I do.
In that case, you should probably come along as well.
Mm-hmm.
With that, the soldier salutes you all and grins and says, "Keep up the good fight." And with that, he jogs off.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And I reckon we just head into the office.
As soon as you approach a harried-looking woman with what was probably once an orderly bun, with hair now sort of frazzed out at different angles, looks up at you and sort of deflates a little bit more and goes, take a seat, and gestures towards a single stool near a wooden table and mountains of paper.
Oh,
I'm going to allow Wisp to take a seat first.
thanks.
You're welcome. And then I'm going to pull out a small bottle of rum and just take a swig and offer Wisp a swig as well.
I'm good for the moment, thanks.
Okay.
So the
No, I'm
orderly...
just going to offer it around.
And you are definitely sure that is not the, what do you call it, poison?
Yeah, no, that's in a cask. Locked
Yeah,
away.
so-
Make sure that I won't drink it.
Look, I don't know why this is done so roundabout, but we are here to collect many piles of money.
The orderly looks at you, Mug, and goes, of course, just like everyone else here. And with that, she plonks herself down opposite you, Wisp, and rummages for some papers and goes, okay. Can I get the captain's name and the name of the ship?
The name's
Was
Silas
it
the Bastard?
Citrus?
she looks between the two of you and goes, one at a time.
Captain Silas?
Captain Silas. She writes that down.
Wait,
goes,
are we not going to tell Captain Bhajiri's name?
No, because this is our ship handing them in, but I'm going to say that we're doing that on order of the Cyrus.
Right. So what is the name of our ship?
What is the name of our ship?
Oh, does that mean we can name our ship?
Yes, this is the
think
point where we name the ship.
It should be called Big Mug.
Nah.
No.
Mug 2.
There is a first mug.
What
That's me. I'm the first.
What do you think of the rose?
Nah. A rose doesn't fight. It has to be a strong name that fights well. Otherwise, it doesn't bring any good luck. That's why I was saying Big Mug.
Nah.
That's strong.
the orderly is... She sort of looks at it and goes, let's skip that for the moment. Name to be confirmed. I'm presuming that you captured a prize.
Yeah, we added to the fleet of the Cirrus under Commodore Bhajiri Blackjay.
Ah, that's the important part. And then she writes down the details and then cross-references some documents and goes, yes, the letter of marque here. And she just notes down some numbers and goes, rightio, so
Well,
obviously...
Wait, lady, how would you call a ship? Because we have the citrus. So should we call it after some food then?
We should do that. We should turn our fleet into a fruit salad. What do you think?
Should we have orange? Or
Orange
not
is a citrus.
strawberry. No, but it's not going to
Lychee.
be a strawberry. How about meat? Like
Ham.
steak. we could call it ship steak.
You could,
Prime rib.
She just basically says you could call it the flying pig for all I care.
Oh, the flying pig. That sounds good to me.
What do you think of that name, Wisp?
Oh my gosh. Why not? It's just a name. I can see the fear in people's eyes already.
Well, what we could do is name it after this famous pirate that I used to read about.
No, the flying ship, the flying pig sounds fun.
What do you think of Queen Anne?
What?
Queen Anne.
What?
One of the most famous pirates of all times sailed on the Queen Anne's Revenge.
That sounds complicated. I don't know who that is. I don't know these famous people. They must not be famous enough. So we must make it much more famous. Like, if we call it the Flying Pig, everyone will recognize it. Just imagine that.
You could call it
like
the flying pig, the war pig, the roasted pig.
Ooh, I like the warhog.
The warhog. That sounds fun. The flying warhog.
All ships fly here.
Right, have you agreed on something?
It's not a fruit, maybe. Is tomato a fruit?
Yes.
You can have it. You can have it with a steak, so we could call it the tomato.
The orderly is now just staring at the roof.
I'm calling it a tomato.
The tomato.
The tomato.
What on earth did I do to deserve this?
We could go with blackcurrant, because that sounds like the currents that you sail on, and then also blackcurrant because black flag, black death, and then
I don't know. I will get
blackcurrant is a fruit.
Enough
because the sea has currents as well, so I will get confused and yeah, but then I will expect to be sailing on the water. So I think that might confuse people, and they might jump out. I don't think it's a good idea.
We should call it Mango Fast. As in mango?
Fast?
Mango, and then Mango Fast, because we go fast on the ship.
That makes sense to me.
The orderly is now looking at you, Wisp, just shaking her head and going,
It's been a day for them.
"You're telling me."
No, but like on a more serious note, we should probably find a name that actually works and sounds like decent.
You know what? Later, let's move on and get on with things, guys.
Okay.
Poor lady.
We're handing in bounty marks.
How many ships?
How many flags did we have, Wisp?
I don't know. I can't count.
No, that's why I asked Wisp.
How many flags did we have, Glenn?
You had been handed 3.
3.
She nods and goes, "Proof of conquest."
I have a request.
And holds a hand out. She looks at you and goes, "This better not be a name."
No, it's not a name, I promise. In order to make the hunt easier and more expeditable, would it be possible to get 2 of those flags back from you when we're done?
You can keep them once we've checked.
Okay.
What do you want to do with them? Like, put it on our ship to make people just scared of us?
She holds her hands out for the flags.
I'll pass them over.
Not necessarily make them scared of us, Mug, as much as make them think that we are with them, so that they won't fire cannons at us until we've fired our first rounds of cannons at them.
That sounds confusing.
It would be for you.
Yeah.
So while you're talking, the orderly takes these flags over to another table and spreads them out, and you see a haggard man in military outfit leaning on a staff, who then holds his hands over each one at a time before nodding. The first two, which are the flags from the Shayak vessels that you've captured, you see him nod his head and say a few words, and then he holds his hands over the third one, which is the flag that you took from the pirate ship. And he stops for a moment, says a few words to the orderly, and then repeats it, and then says a few more. The orderly notes down, sort of scribbles on the document that she's already been filling out with the other information you've already provided, before she gathers up the flags and folds them and returns them. She says...
So how many piles of money are we getting?
As per your letter of marque, you will get 1,000 per confirmed destruction or capture of a Shayak vessel. And for that, you will get the 2,000 for the 2 Shayak flags there. The third one, there is a bounty on, and we must offer our thanks and congratulations for the...
Oh.
I'm presuming destruction of that vessel.
Which vessel was that?
A known pirate. The vessel went by the name the Bloody Jackdaw.
Glenn,
Yep.
Did Silas read about this ship?
He's probably heard about it. It's not one of the most famous pirate ships at the moment, but it is one that perhaps he would have heard of raiding various places in his travels.
Awesome. And like, he's been researching pirates for most of his life, so I think that if there were rumors around, he'd know them.
It would have been amongst the various bits of trivia that he would have heard of. From what Silas probably would have remembered is that they were known more for their sort of crude butchery of prisoners rather than any main feats of capturing strong ships. They were the kind that would target the weak and prey on the unwary.
Fair. No good pirating tactics.
So which ship was that out of the ones that we got?
Was it the one targeting that merchant vessel that had the lady in the door?
Yep.
Oh.
She smiles and says, the bounty on this vessel will take a little time to gather, as it's not just from Port Marli. There's other locations that will definitely pay for this. We will send a letter of voucher with you that you can claim. 700 gold from us, and the good people at Fort Hearth will definitely pay their part of the bounty as well. Would not surprise me if they match.
See, these words I like.
It will be good to know that our trade ships with the people of Hathard will not be raided by this lot, at least, anytime soon.
If any more show up, let us know.
That we can do. She gestures towards a pinboard that's near the door. There's a list there of known pirates, if you wish to try and try your hand at tracking them down. The more elusive ones obviously have the highest bounties, but there are others that are no less dangerous, but easier to find.
Would I be allowed to take a copy of the list?
Of course, of course. She sort of slips you some paper in a sort of half-empty inkwell.
Awesome. I'm gonna quickly scribble over the names of the pirates and such. All of the information they have.
Yep. You recognize plenty of the names up there. There's like a top 10 pirates list, effectively. The rewards and bounties for some of them are exceptionally high. But based on your own rumors and knowledge, you're aware that the stories about them, even if they're half true, are that they're exceptionally dangerous.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they should give us a good fight.
Well, they'll give us more than just a good fight. At this
That
point,
will
we'll
be
be
good
lucky
fun.
if we'll be lucky if we survive.
You're really selling it for me.
It's not necessarily that we'll have to hunt them now. It's always good to know who's worth some money if we encounter them.
Uh-huh.
So it's more of a list for later.
Oh, joy.
I mean, we're building a fleet now. I mean, with one ship, yeah, we'll be in trouble. But imagine what we can do with 5 ships.
I don't know. I just want to fight strong people, so I think we can take them on now.
Nah, we shouldn't.
I vote for a new captain.
The orderly looks at you, Silas, and Whisp and smiles and says, "We will have the reward that you have duly earned delivered to your vessel.
Ah, perfect.
If you don't mind, we are unfortunately exceptionally busy here, so I must bid you a good day."
A good day to you too, and good luck with the rest. And I tried to give a sympathetic smile.
She gives like a half, like dying half smile back of, "Thanks, I think I'm going to need it to survive the rest of this shift."
Good luck. And with that, I walk back out.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know. I think that you have an easy job, but I guess you can't get to fight a lot.
Mug, get out.
I'm gonna
I'm
take
coming.
Mug's hand and just pull Mug out.
Yeah, we go party now, right? We got all the piles of money.
Of course.
They can spend on booze.
No.
Some of it. Some piles of money we can send on booze.
You know what? We'll do the first round out of the payment. The rest of it's for your own pay.
Yeah, I will get the best beer they have.
So you, somewhat now familiar with Port Marli, make your way up towards where the Shattered Hand is. As you get into the seedy warehouse districts, you do see that there are people out and about. Some of them glance at you along the way, but no one stops you or bars your path. You find yourself standing out the front of a very familiar tavern. The massive orc warrior that stands out front takes one look at you and just steps to the side and gestures with a very slight nod for you to enter.
I'm gonna enter.
Mug is just going in.
I'll follow suit.
Mug is going in and tries to order the best beer they have.
Noted. The tavern is busy. There are tons of people in here as you enter. There are still the occasional table. There's all sorts of noise and entertainment. There is a couple of cards of couple of card games and dice games going on. There is music, and there is, of course, a lot of rowdy drinking. As you approach the bar, Mug, and ask for the best drink they have, the barkeep takes one look and says, "I'll see your coin first."
The best beer they have. Mug is not clever enough to go for best drink. He's going for best beer.
He's gonna say, "I'll see your money first. Best beer in the house? That we can get you."
Glenn.
Yep.
Quick out of character refresher. What was that leader dude? What did he name himself as to us? Because he promised us free drinks, right?
So
I'd like to name drop.
he called himself the Fifth.
The Fifth?
Yep.
I'm just gonna say that the Fifth says hi.
The barkeep has his eyes widen ever so slightly before he narrows them and goes, "Quieten it down." And then he just fills up a couple of mugs and pops them onto the bar in front of you and says, "They're on me, but watch what you say out here. Back in the private room, anything goes. Out here, watch your tongue."
I'm sorry.
Oh, free drinks. I love free drinks.
With that, he goes back to his tasks of prepping other drinks and gathering up food to be sent out by various waitstaff.
Sorry.
All good. I think we might wind it up here for now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I'm getting sleepy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And we will pick up again next week.
Quickly before we quit.
Yep.
I think a name has been decided.
What? Wait.
You're going to have to name the ship, so...
Oh, for Mug.
At the same...
Pitaya?
Pitaya.
What?
So you've got the Cirrus and the Pitaya.
Ah. So we have the citrus and the dragon fruit. Because ours will spit fire. It's a weapon I've been working on.
I don't know. I'm sleepy.
Oh, good. You'll at least have a week to work it out.
Yeah.
So
we can do a poll.
Could do.
Then again, Bhajiri got to call the ship because he was captain.
Or because you went behind Mug's back.
What?
Like that.
Don't forget that you named it the citrus to various people, so...
I think Pitaya seems like a difficult name.
It's Pit and Aya. How's it hard? Aya's something you say when you hurt yourself, and Pit's like a hole in the ground.
But I feel like Mug will struggle to remember the name.
Oh, good.
I will struggle to remember
He
the
can
name.
just call it the pit. He could just call it the pit, as in where he fights.
Oh.
So that might be an easy way for him to solve that.
Yeah, but then he's not going to be calling it the proper name.
So
That's not though.
we've been calling the other ship the Citrus. That's not the proper name either. It's not like it's that much of an issue when the ship gets misnamed. It won't get angry at you. Or at least, if the ship gets angry, that's when we dispose of it.
Yeah.
Because that's when shit gets scary.
I can't wait to see you guys all discussing this in character. At the same time, I'll get a yo-ho from you and I'll cut the recording.
Yo-ho.
Yo-ho.
Yo.